So we created this text box class. Now let's create a new text box object. So back to our main class, here in the main method, let's declare a text box variable. We call it text box 1 and initialize it like this. Use the new operator to create a new instance of the text box class. So here we're instantiating the text box class, which means we're creating a new instance of this class. Okay? Now, before going any further, there is something we can improve here. Look at this text box. It's repeated twice here, and this is making our code a little bit noisy. We can simplify this using the var keyword in Java. So we can replace the first text box with var, and the Java compiler will detect the type of this variable based on what we have on the right side of the assignment operator. So this var is different from the var that we have in languages like JavaScript. In JavaScript, when we use var, we can declare a variable and give it different types of values. So here we can set text box 1 to a number, but as you can see, this is not valid in Java because in Java, variables have a static type. So once we set the type of a variable, we cannot change it throughout the lifetime of our programs. So using the var keyword, we can write shorter and cleaner code, and we let the Java compiler determine the type of this variable based on what we have here. All right, now we use the dot operator to look at the members of this class. Here we have a couple of methods, setText and clear, as well as the text field. So let's call the setText method, and here we can pass box 1. Next, we can print this on a terminal. So SOUT tab to get this print line statement. And here we type text box 1 dot text. Let's run this program. So we get box 1, beautiful. Now, what if we remove this line of code and print the text field? We get null. Well, in the first part of this series, we talked about primitive types and reference types. Primitive types are numbers, booleans, and characters. Everything else is a reference type. So back to our text box class. This text field is a string object. Strings are reference types. And by default, if we don't initialize these reference types, they're set to null. Now, these nulls can be dangerous and they can crash our programs. Let me show you. So back to our main class. What if we want to display the text inside this text box in uppercase? So because text is a string object, we can use the dot operator to access its members. So here I'm going to call the toUpperCase method. Now let's run this program and see what happens. Our program crashed. We got an exception. And the type of this exception is null pointer exception, which is one of the most popular exceptions in Java. So we got this exception because this text field is null, so it's not referencing a real object in memory. And here we're trying to call this method on an object that doesn't exist. That's why we get a null pointer exception. Now, how can we prevent this from happening? We can go back to our text box class and initialize this field to an empty string. So the text field will never be null. Now back to our main class. If we run this program one more time, we simply see a blank line here, so our program didn't crash. Beautiful. Now one more time, let's set the text in this text box. So we call text box 1.setText. Let's say box 1. Now similarly, I'm going to create another text box object. So var text box 2. We set this to a new instance of the text box class. But here we're going to give this text box a different value. So text box 2 dot set text to box 2. If we print this, we're going to see a different value. Take a look. So we can see that these objects are completely independent of each other. They have different data. They're in different states. Here we can see the state of the first text box, and below that we can see the state or the data in the second text box.